This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sean Preston.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today, we have a good neighbor on with us, and that is the Jay Monteith of Dominion Lending. What's going on, brother?
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Super happy. For those who don't know, I met Jay through our golf league. We golfed together in a men's league on Thursday nights, and it was only a few weeks ago. We were just kind of having a conversation, having a pretty good round too, to boot, and talking about a few things. I said, hey, you're a mortgage broker. Why don't you come on the show, get to tell your story? And here we are today. So super happy to have you on, buddy.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So I haven't had the opportunity to do this with too many mortgage brokers, so I'm pretty excited for this one. And I'm sure our listeners are chomping at the bit right now. So why don't we dive right into it? And why don't you tell us a little bit more about your business?
Well, what I do is I arrange mortgages for people and families and commercial mortgages, residential mortgages, cottages, investment properties. You help people that are in business for themselves, people with challenge credit, but most of the business is your, everyday person that's, working 9 to 5 and has a decent job. And, we go out and find them the best rates.
And so there's a bunch of different, places where, brokerages offer, mortgage services. What makes maybe your style a little bit maybe more unique for what you offer your clients versus maybe what people are just randomly searching for out there on Google?
It's personal. Well, Dominion Lending is the largest brokerage in the country. The nice thing about that, there's a lot of support there. We're currently using actively 73 different lenders, if you can believe that.
Wow.
We deal with major banks. We deal with trust companies, credit unions, and the biggest group of companies that we deal with are what they call mono lenders, which are mortgage companies. That's all they do. And they I don't know if anybody's heard of First National or MCAP, but companies like that. The neat thing is, because I don't work for the bank and I work for my client, my job, which would be similar to maybe an insurance broker, is to go out and find them the best mortgage, the best rate. I don't have any allegiance to any one bank. So it's all about my client and what fits best, what makes me different, maybe from a lot of them. I'm always open. So I work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And some people laugh when I say that, but there's many times when I'm watching the recording of the Blue Jay game while I'm getting caught up in my work at 1 o'clock in the morning, right? But and having conversations with people late at night. I like to stick super close to my clients, especially when they're buying a house. I'm available. They send me the listings they're interested in. I preview them, make sure that they're going to qualify, as far as a lender is concerned. We chat, it really turns into quite a close relationship for sort of a short period of time. And then I go on my way, but I continue to stay in touch. And it's amazing how many of them come back. Most of my business is repeat and referral. And obviously I'd like to grow that because the more clients I have, the more repeat referral business I'm going to have as well. So it's kind of what I'm doing.
Oh, that's really nice. I've been learning kind of a little bit more of the mortgage business, and some people just kind of wait until it's their month when they're up for the next month, when in reality, actually, that process should be done well in advance because there are lots of different options and things can change in people's life. Like for myself, for example, I went from being an employee to now being a business owner. So that really does change a lot of things.
Yeah, it does. And it's funny right now, renewals, that's a big part of the business. People normally they get a renewal letter from their bank and it's like, okay, pick 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. This was the regular rate, which is usually sort of an artificial posted rate. And this is your rate, your preferred rate. So they get that. They don't get, there's not a lot of consultation there. In most cases, it's just pick one and sign. It's really good to get out there and shop because there are a lot of options. It doesn't cost anything to switch. There's no penalty to switch when your mortgage matures, and it's simple. There's an application process when you switch where there isn't if you just renew. However, if somebody's going to save a half a point, it's worth it. And in many cases they can. There are other options too, just with interest rates being so high, the sticker shock on a mortgage payment when it's going from the 1.5% mortgages aren't coming up yet, but the 2.5%, 3% mortgages are, and they're coming up, in the mid upper fours. So that makes a big difference. And there's options where they can re-amortize to keep the payment lower in the short term. There's different things they can do, to ease the pain a little bit. And again, they're not offered, that type of information usually when they're just looking at a straight renewal. So it's definitely great to reach out a few months ahead if you can. And even if it's getting to be, close to renewal time, it can still happen. So it's never too late.
That's very good information. Especially we know that there are a lot of people coming up, especially, before and now into the future that they're going to have, including myself, a little bit of a sticker shock.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm getting a lot of calls. In some cases, it's better for them to stay where they are. And if it is, I want what's best for them. I'm not going to, if I can't really do much better for them, or if they're in a situation maybe where they're afraid about requalifying or something like that, they can stick where they are and stick with where they are. And I can, coach them through that a little bit and maybe try to help them. And, it always works out in the end. One day they buy another house, or, they have a friend that's looking for a mortgage. So usually here to help. And in most cases, I'm the one they can use. In some cases I'm not, but what's good for them is good for me.
Oh, very nice, man.
Yeah.
So everybody's got a bit of a different, journey. Some people start, they grow up and like, I always wanted to be a vet and I turned into a vet. I've been a vet for 30 years, and other people, they start off on a path, and some it's, it's pretty straight. Maybe they only do, one or two career changes. Other people, it's more like the Mazda commercial, they're like all over the place, and eventually till they find their calling into doing what they're doing today. So I'm curious to ask you, tell our listeners about your journey and like how and why did you get into doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, it's interesting because it probably growing up, it wasn't something I ever thought I'd do. I guess in life, I was in the automotive industry, and I was a finance manager at car dealerships for a number of years. So I was arranging financing for clients and, became pretty good at it. And from there, I worked my way up and ended up running dealerships and whatnot. But I always enjoyed the financing aspect of it and working with clients. And I was always pretty good with numbers and very creative if I needed to be. And, it's almost when I'm dealing with a client and I find out their situation, it's almost like I need a day to kind of digest it in my mind. And I usually, come up with something and figure something out. But so because of that creativity, it's quite satisfying because, there's always a way. There's never really a no, if no is always the first answer out of everybody's mouth. So it's right. Never really a no with me. I just need to kind of figure out how. And I always enjoyed doing that. And I had to do that a lot for myself. I went through times in life where it wasn't easy for me to get financing or a mortgage. So I had to understand that. And it just sort of spilled off and into the mortgage business for me. And the reason I got into it, Sean, is I was in the car business and running a Pontiac dealership about, 14, 15 years ago. And General Motors was scaling down and closing the Pontiac operations, and they basically shut down half of the dealerships in Canada and North America, for that matter. And our dealership was one of them. So it's like, what am I going to do next? And decided to become a mortgage agent. Took the course and away I went. I've always been kind of around real estate, and my ex-wife's a realtor, and so it was a good match.
I don't know if you know this. I did 9 years in the car business.
I did not know that. Where were you?
I was in automotive marketing, and I helped dealers retain their clients. So we would host private sale events for them. and
Oh
mine a
my gosh.
database and send out the invites and send an event manager in the store, and they would do a little 3-day kind of private sale, and they would sell about a week's worth of business in 3 days. You had that infamous fifth week to the month. ROI
Well,
is pretty good.
that's really funny because,
Yeah.
not getting off topic, but back in the day when that first started, probably about 15 years ago or so, maybe longer, maybe 20, I actually did that, the private sales. And I was one of the financial specialists at the private sale. So when the salespeople found a car for somebody, they would come and sit with the financial specialist, and we found out what their affordability was so they could pick out a car for them, kind of thing. So yeah, I did that for a year or so, just while I was, getting my mortgage license and figuring out what I wanted to do. But that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the fun, as they say, the fun part of the car business was all when the showroom's busy and everybody's in and everyone's excited about shopping for a new car and everyone's doing it at the same time. That feel in the air. So we used to help kind of create that atmosphere for like
a frenzy, right? So it was really fun. Yeah, that's neat. We'll have to talk about that sometime.
Oh, 100%. So when it comes to the mortgage world, are there any like myths or misconceptions you see out there?
Well, I think there's a few myths. One is they think that people, I think out there think they only need a mortgage broker if they have financial issues or problems, or if they think they're going to have trouble getting a mortgage. And certainly that is what we specialize in, because we are licensed, we are trained. We spend all of our time staying up to date with everything we possibly can in the mortgage industry. And, you go to a bank and you're not always dealing with somebody that's a licensed mortgage agent, right? So yes, we're very good at that, and we can do things for people that the banks can't do because we have private lenders and alternative lenders, and we do mortgages based on stated incomes where people can show cash flow on bank statements. There's all kinds of things we can do. But again, the majority of my business is just prime mortgages. People think a mortgage broker doesn't do that, but in fact we do. And I have access to pretty well all the lenders, all the banks that people deal with, and some. So that better equips us to get people a better rate, maybe a better terms where, the penalty is not going to be as severe, or, you can prepay your mortgage every year up to 20%, things like that. And so that's a really, really big part of our business. And the other misconception or the myth about our business is it costs money to use a mortgage broker. It's almost always free when you use us because the lenders pay us. So the lenders pay us a fee, for bringing them the business. And the only time that we would charge a broker fee is in a situation maybe where we're dealing with a private mortgage where somebody needs private money because the private lenders won't pay us. So we'll charge a brokerage fee for that. But that's a very small percentage of our business.
Wow. So if I'm, the average person out there that I have never considered using a mortgage broker in the past, one of the multitudes of benefits of using a mortgage broker is obviously collecting all of the information that I should have at my disposal in order to make the best possible decision, because a mortgage broker has access to so many different strategies, different ways of getting access to finding that person the best possible rate.
Yeah, absolutely. When I deal with people, I have a conversation obviously first and find out what their needs are. But, to really, and a lot of people want to know, what do I qualify for? And, you can give a round and about in a conversation, but it's almost a trial run when we start off. I start out with basically an application, and then I want the documentation that the lender's going to ask for, because it very often is different than what people are expressing to you. So I take all the documentation up front, and I can pre-qualify the mortgage and know exactly what we can get them. And then from there, we just find the best spot. And when we do get the mortgage, especially for people that are pre-approved, there are no surprises. All of a sudden you find out, you think you're pre-approved and you buy a house and you find, well, wait a minute, I'm not pre-approved, because lenders don't look at documents until you actually submit an application. And on a pre-approval, even they don't even look at documents to qualify the client. They just look at the application and qualify them based on the application, and the property isn't even a factor there. So it's very, very important, to take that extra step and look at that information, because in many, many cases, people just aren't pre-approved. They're not pre-qualified. So, we do that, and, it protects our clients, right?
Well, 100%. I mean, you're looking at one of the largest investments most people make in their life. You'd think you'd kind of want to have the best or most seamless transition through that
Absolutely.
process as possible, not coming in last second, finding out like, oh, no, I'm not pre-approved. And all of a sudden,
or they don't like a document, or they don't like what your pay stub looks like, or they don't like your job letter, or, there's so many things. So yeah, it's very simple. You keep it easy, a little bit of pain to grab a few documents up front, but yeah, good to know 100%. And it's the only way I really go with people. I'll have a conversation anytime, but to really know what we're dealing with, I want to see what the bank needs to see, because lenders are regulated. It's not even because a lender is picky. I mean, they are regulated and they are audited because they can't falsify anything either. So they have to back up every little thing that you say. So it's great to get all that up front and know exactly where you stand. I have so many conversations with people that are more than happy to give me what I need, answer all their questions. You give them different options, and, they just don't get that kind of service anywhere. And that's where mortgage brokers, for the most part, shine. It's not everyone, obviously, just like any business, but, the good mortgage brokers that are out there, clients just love to use them and keep using them. And yeah, so just do the right thing, and it always works out.
Very well said. That's actually very interesting. I didn't know that lenders had all of these kind of, pretty strict restrictions that they need to kind of follow and protect themselves as well too.
They're all regulated. It's all about protecting themselves. When they ask you for something and there's an error or something incorrect in documentation, it's not because they're picky. It's because if they get audited, the document it doesn't satisfy the condition, right? So they can actually lose their licenses or be fined, or So it's the mortgage industry is very strict nowadays as far as having documentation to support your income. So when it comes to prime mortgages, right? When it comes to private mortgages and some of the alternative mortgages with a little higher interest rate, where you go outside the box a little bit, it's a little bit different. But there's even regulations in place there, and those regulations are all there to protect the client, right? At the end of the day.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day, eh?
Yeah.
So we've had some fun on the golf course together, and our conversations that we've had, and building our relationship together and stuff like that. I'm a big fan. I've said this on the show about having a harmony. Balance, not so much. Balance is a perfect balance, right? When something is balanced. And I think we work as human beings a little bit more than we play it. In your case, from how you've iterated, maybe a little bit more than that. But having that harmony and having fun outside of work is super important. As much as business owners are very passionate about what they do and very good at what they do, having fun is a big part to living life to its fullest extent. So I'm curious to ask you, when you're not working on or in your business, Jay, what do you like to do for fun?
I like to golf. I don't golf a ton though. I really golf for me is fun. Like, you've golfed with me. I'm not that serious about it. I mean, sure, there's always a level of competition there in our golf league, and but yeah, I mean, it's certainly nowhere near golfing on the PGA. So it's just go out and have a good time, and maybe have a beer while you're on the golf course, right? And shoot the breeze and get out on a beautiful evening and hang out with a bunch of guys. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy that night. Other than that, the odd tournament, but I mostly golf with my kids. So I have two sons, and one's 24, one's 21. And right now they're both working at Horseshoe Resort, one part-time, one full-time. And so they get to golf for free because they work there. And we go out. I go out probably 2 evenings a week with them, And they've just really gotten into golf, Sean, since COVID. I think COVID brought a lot of younger people into golf, and they just love it. And, we go out and have a whole lot of fun, and, I still outdrive them here and there for now, maybe for another week or two. It's one of the few things, that and maybe skiing, I can be a little bit faster, but no, they're pretty well better at everything than I am right now, right? Started with video games, right? You beat them until they're 5.
Yeah.
No mercy.
No mercy. Just get obliterated until they get good, right?
Yeah. Now it's like, oh yeah, whatever. I can't even play them with them. But I do like golf. Family's big for me. I like going to the lake. I spend as much time as I can out in the water. It's a lot less than it used to be, but we live up in this beautiful area, and I'm a half an hour from my boat. So if it's a really hot day like this, for example, I could go up at 6 o'clock and spend 2 hours on the water. So
nice.
Love that. I like football. I didn't put my hat on. I thought I'd actually not wear a hat, but I think I'll wear my hat.
Nice.
Bills fan, and I like football, baseball. I love to ski. Skiing is a big thing for me. And again, we live right around the corner from the ski hill, so I can zip over at 9 o'clock, ski for an hour, and come back to work. So it's kind of, I'm really lucky to be up here, and I've been up here now about 18 years and moved up from Oakville. And I always ran up here on the weekends, like a lot of people. And, but we made the move when the kids were young, and never looked back.
That's up in Horseshoe.
Yeah.
Where's the lake? Where's the boat?
It's in Honey Harbor. It's on Georgian Bay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great body of water for sure.
Yeah, it is. We used to run up, weekends all the time. And, if you're going to get into real estate or the mortgage business, you really got to love where you live, because you're doing it, when a lot of people aren't working. And so that was why we made the move. You couldn't really afford to go running up to the boat or the lake every weekend, because you work a lot of times on the weekend. So if you live here, you can, like you say, zip out and take advantage of it for a few hours here and there. So that's what we do.
Very nice. So since I met my, I'll call her my better half, my girlfriend, Julie, crazy sports fan, obviously like hockey, but really big into football. And, she's that much into it when she's doing her own fantasy leagues. I don't even do that for hockey, and I'm a big hockey nut. And so she'd been a Tom Brady fan for forever. So she's got a bunch of Patriots jerseys. And then my 2 best friends, or 3 best friends now, they all live down there. I got to head down to Tampa Bay. The Bucks obviously scored. Tom Brady in 2019 won. Yeah. They won the Super Bowl. I got to watch Tom Brady in person throw his 600th touchdown pass. Wow. At Raymond James Stadium. I thought that was pretty cool to see a bit of a piece of history. Since Tom Brady retired, we kind of figured, who do we cheer for? Obviously the Bucks being one, but Buffalo is so close. So we have our 2 teams that we cheer for, the Bills and the Bucks. And
nice.
It's kind of nice because, when one's sucking, the other one's winning, you just flip the TV and you're good to go, right? Yeah, absolutely. Well, football is so amazing for that. It's one of the few sports, I think, you're a football fan, I'm a football fan, and Sunday afternoon, your team's not always playing, but you watch football, right? It's one of those sports where you can watch other teams play and really enjoy it. So I like it. And my partner, my better half, she's a Green Bay fan. So, okay. Yeah, we had, that went really well for a number of years, but, and then of course I thought it was going to fall apart. And then here's this young group of guys that are just amazing. So, yeah, so we have some fun with that. And my youngest son, he just loves football, and he's a Bengals fan. And he's a Bengals fan. Wow. So, yeah, we have some fun. And that's the other thing that's fun, as a parent, again, most of my spare time I spend with my kids, if they'll have me, and I'm lucky enough that they do. And, Sundays or Monday night, whenever we can be available, we'll watch football together. So it's a lot of fun. No, that's amazing to hear. Not everybody is privileged to be able to be in a position like that. I feel fortunate being close to my parents as well too. So whenever we can try to find some time and spend some family time together, we we have that same bond within our family as well too.
Yeah,
So,
your dad's an amazing guy. I mean, he's made that effort in life too. You guys are very close, and I had that conversation with my friend Mike Hoy, who's a friend of your dad's, and you know Mike,
yeah,
and he was saying how much he loved Randy, right? He
yeah,
said, Randy, I really like him. I'm spending time with him, and I said, Randy, I knew him a little bit in the past. He's the type of guy I'll just invite you in, sit you down at his kitchen table, right?
yeah.
And you're just sort of part of the family when you walk in the door. So I'm sure look what how you've turned out, and my boys are pretty awesome too. And it's great to have that family dynamic in life.
Yeah, very important thing. We're definitely fortunate to be able to have that in our lives. So maybe we'll switch gears to a little bit more of a serious conversation. We always ask this question on the show. Everybody in life, we go through things as human beings. We put ourselves on a path, and based off of our goals, based off of who we are, and we say, "This is the path of life I wanna walk." And it doesn't necessarily always turn out that way. Sometimes we take different paths, or life gets in the way. We'll change it for us, throw life challenges our way. Sometimes it's in form of a tragedy. Others, they don't necessarily experience it to that level, but we still go through these obstacles in life. And I've always been impressed with human beings on how we're able to handle resiliency, how we're able to look at the glass half full, find a silver lining from something, and turn that into a positive. Because when something happens to us, we have to move forward. There's no other option. And so I'm curious to ask if you've ever experienced a hardship, a life challenge that you went through, and did you pull any silver linings from that?
Yeah, it's funny. I've been fortunate enough, knock on wood, to have my health and my immediate family. My kids and everything. I've been very fortunate. They're healthy and happy. So I think that's first and foremost. I did separate from my family. This was probably about 12 years ago, and actually, that's kind of when I knew your dad. And that was a really difficult. I literally, walked away from everything in life. My kids, and my wife were kind of left with everything. And I even was changing careers at the time and the whole bit. And it was all I wanted was my family back. So I realized just how important family was, and how every spare moment of my life, my kids were young, they were like 6 and 8 years old kind of thing. So right at that time in life where they need their dad. So, I kind of knew what it was like to have no place to live. I knew what it was like to wonder, where I was getting the money for a meal, all kinds of things. Right. And the worst part was, always wanting to be there when my kids went to bed at night. And so managed to put that all back together and refocus on career, refocus on work, focus on my family. And, it wasn't a forever thing, but, I was lucky enough to get my kids back, through their entire childhood, until they grew up, which was fantastic. But that was a life-changing experience because, there's just, you may like to golf, or you may like watching a football game, or you may like to ski, or you may like to, whatever it is you like to do in life. You don't like to do it if you don't have your family, or if you don't know that you're going home to the ones you love. So that was a very, very difficult time for me, because family is like number one above everything, on my list. So that was a tough time, but it ended up working out, and and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Even, in hindsight, you think to yourself, I'm not married now, but that was 12 years later. So you can't think, well, 12 years, that was a waste. I was with my kids and my family, and had an amazing family life, when it mattered most in their life. So, that was life-changing for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty wild when you have what you have, and then all of a sudden some of these things in life, they're not there anymore, and how the brain processes that information to really understand what's important in life. I had a couple of superficial, things in my life on some things that I wanted to have. And it turned out after I had everything taken away from me, losing the job I had, due to COVID, and, coming straight down to rock bottom and having to rebuild my life. And through that rebuild, the feeling of not being able to just have what you want anymore and have to live a different lifestyle, live a little bit more of a frugal lifestyle. And you find out that there are things in life that now I look at it and say, like, I don't even want that anymore.
Yeah.
I'd rather, live not beyond my means, and set some goals for myself and stuff like that. But, when you're making a lot of money and you don't really know what to do with some of it because you're young, and you have a house and you have a nice car and you have all these things, and then it all gets taken away from you. You start reprioritizing what's important in your life. And family was there to support me the whole time. So, fortunate to have them there. And, you appreciate some of these other things a lot more than you did beforehand, right?
For sure. Friends and family, they're always step up, and, you don't like to lean on them all the time. Family, you can, but yeah, it's amazing what becomes important in life. Hey, it's great to have all those nice things, but yeah, at the end of the day, they don't mean a thing without your family. I mean, maybe to some people it might, but, certainly not to me. I'd rather have nothing and have my, family. So, my kids and health and all that stuff. So yeah, that was eye opening. And, I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be in debt. I know what it's like to be broke. I know what it's like to get out. I mean, it's good to have hardship in life. You can't really appreciate, what kind of life we really have without experiencing hardship. I think it'd be a great thing for everybody to wonder where their next meal is coming from. I don't really wish it on anybody, but, maybe for a little short period of time, just kind of have to live that way to really understand it. And, the best thing is if you can come out of that strong and understand where your priorities are in life, and understand, how to manage your life better. That's, if you wanted to, I mean, great things come from every bad situation, right? So
yeah, growth,
or you can just make it work. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. So what's one thing that you wish our listeners knew about your business?
One thing I wish my listeners knew about the business. My phone number, email address. No.
That's the next question.
How to reach me. Yeah, the biggest thing is people need to know, first of all, that, it doesn't cost anything to use a broker 99% of the time. So for, likely anybody that would contact me, there's no cost to using me. I mean, I'm a service that, most people, once they finally use somebody like myself, they wonder why they never did. And so, you've always got me. I've always got their back, when they renew, when they move, if they've got a family member that needs help, they're always dealing with me. They're not dealing with somebody different next time they make the call. So, when you're working with somebody like myself, that's taking care of you when it comes to, your mortgage needs, whether it be investment properties or buying a home or whatever it may be in life, you're always going to be working with me, regardless of the lender we use.
Very nice. And so I'm sure at this juncture, there's definitely some people listening now who are interested. They want to maybe reach out to you and find out a little bit more information. And so for those who are interested, what would be one of the best ways that they can go ahead and reach you?
Well, my email address, phone number. I mean, if 705-725-3484, I don't know if there's something I can post that on, jmonteith.ca. So just like you're seeing my whole name all together, that's my website. So if you go on my website, my contact information is on the website, and yeah, you can reach me any way you like, whether it's phone, email, text. Text is always fantastic just because, you can answer text message even if you're doing something. So usually it's like, perfect, I'll get back to you in 20 minutes or a half an hour, but or even minutes later. But text, I'm always available. Yeah, there's really, the website will direct you to all those things. I also have this really cool thing, Sean, I didn't mention. I have a mortgage toolbox, and it's an app that you can upload onto your phone from the App Store. And it's really cool. It's got really simplistic mortgage calculators, and now you can get a pre-approval certificate, but it talks about anything you want to know about mortgages. And so it's handy. I even use it myself. But a lot of people upload my app, so that's a cool way to reach me as well. And again, you can also connect to that from my website.
Okay, beautiful. So jmonteith.ca?
jmonteith.ca.
Wonderful. Well, hey, listen, thank you very much for coming on the show. I was really looking forward to doing this one. Great individual, great business. Thanks a lot for doing this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Sean.
No worries. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com or call 705-413-3775.